Hey Dan, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Denise, and you?
I'm doing great. We've got both Bill and Pete here, and we are so excited that you are sharing this evening with us.
And Dan, it's an honor and a privilege to follow in your footsteps and the footsteps of Bill Sheehan, Doug Sizemore. You know, Bill and I were talking, as officers, what an honor and privilege it is for us to serve. But what were your favorite moments with the labor movement in Cincinnati over the last 23 years that you worked?
Well, I was very fortunate because Cincinnati, although it's not the largest federation, it was one of the most active. And federation goes back to Cincinnati to 1886. 1886. It would call it a different organization then, but it has a very long history. Uh, Working with the membership and with the officers, and especially the rank and file, was the top of my list.
Well, Dan, under your leadership, you started the Labor Day picnic in Coney Island, which is now one of the largest union events on Labor Day. You got Cincinnati designated as a union city by the National AFL-CIO. I mean, you left such a legacy that I feel like I'm walking on the shoulders of giants. But you've built such a great history here, Dan, and we just try to carry on your legacy with everything we do with all of our affiliates. And we just thank you for your service and everything you've done for Cincinnati.
No, I appreciate that, Pete. And the Labor Day picnic was, even though it was a lot of discussions on whether or not to go forward, it was one of the best decisions the board and myself and Bob Richardson ever made.
So let me ask you this, Dan. When did you first attend a COPE event, and who was your favorite COPE speaker you ever saw?
Well, obviously, I'm going to say Joe Biden right now, but we were very close, and I was very close personally with Senator Howard Metzenbaum, John Glenn, and Metzenbaum at time would call me up 1 o'clock in the morning, racing heck because of something that happened in Cincinnati, and he was just a great person, and when it was discussed to start the COPE dinner, which, this is the 50th year, it was actually for two things. Number one, to raise some money for the political program because we were more or less, we had a 2 cent per capita earmark, but we were restricted on what to use it for. But it was also to kind of award where local unions could bring the people who makes the labor movement work, the rank and file, the local union president. And what's really ignored is the spouses of these leaders, because they are the ones that are home by themselves. And this gives them a chance actually to go out and have a nice dinner and meet influential people, whether or not it's our next president, Joe Biden, or Senator Metzenbaum, or Jerry Springer. And it was always a fun event. It was really not only raising money, but enabled us to get them more involved.
What political lessons do you think we should be telling young labor leaders who are going forward with the next 50 years of the labor movement in Southwest Ohio?
Well, of course, the future is always the young leadership coming up. And the labor movement has changed, not only in Cincinnati, but around the country. And one thing I regret, and I have to take possible responsibility for it, is it needs to be a forum, a local forum on education. And what a lot of people don't know is that it's that you looking past over the years, the first major issue that would discuss with the old Working People's Party, in the 1902 or something, that they met for 5 days and they come up with one issue to support. And that was public education, because they knew even then that education was the key to bring working families up out of poverty to the middle class.
Pete had mentioned some pretty big hitters in the labor movement here around Cincinnati, and starting with you, Dan, obviously, but Bill Sheehan, who was a good friend, Doug Sizemore, and now Pete, filling in your shoes. Over the last 60 years or so, we've had 4 pretty dynamic leaders in that role from 4 pretty diverse backgrounds. When you look at you 4, I mean, you obviously with your law degree and Pete with his law degree, but from different backgrounds as far as your legalese, I guess, and Pete coming from AFSCME. But I think that says a lot about the Cincinnati Labor Council in this area in general. When you can have the 4 leaders that we have had, and the ability that you 4 have had to unite workers from every background. You in particular, Dan, 31 years ago when I got into this, when Bob Sullivan was our business manager, through Willie Kester and then Marty Nassif, up until now, you're one of the reasons why people like myself and other members of Local 392 and the building trades get involved in the AFL-CIO so heavily, because of the coalitions that you were able to build and the relationships that you allowed us to foster across the building trades, through the public sector employees, the school teachers, the firefighters, you name it. Those relationships are extremely important for labor, and for as labor goes, so goes obviously.
That's right.
So the 4 of you have done an incredible job. Because we all do come from diverse labor backgrounds, but at the end of the day, our core issues are the same core issues across labor. And I think you 4 do a very nice job, or you did a very nice job in carrying on with your successors of making sure that the labor unions don't become so laser focused on just their issues that they forget that the purpose of this is to bring everybody up, regardless of how they toil for a living. And I really think, I just want to make it a point that the 4 of you that have led the AFL-CIO, I feel like over the last 31 years that I've been involved, you guys have done a great job. So.
Well, Bill, you know, in the Labor Council and labor in general, it's an old adage. Say that's what's good for the community is good for labor, and vice versa. And fortunately, it's our job to bring the folks kicking and hollering sometime, to make sure that we get the recognition that we should, that the workers does. And I can recall my first union job was, I was age 14 years old. I was a busboy at Oconee Island. And then when I was in college, I was a cook at the Ford Motor Company. In fact, I still hold the record there, because I'm the only person in the history of Ford Motor Company, the only cook that poisoned a complete third shift.
What?
But the union got my job back in 2 days.
Oh, no.
Didn't do it on purpose.
I'm sure you didn't do it on purpose, but
Wow.
wow. It's quite an admission, Dan.
But I will say, Dan, you know, based upon your leadership, the AFL-CIO endorsement is one of the most coveted endorsements in Greater Cincinnati. A lot of people pay us a lot of respect based on their candidacy and saying, okay, but did the AFL endorse you? And like I said, that just goes back the legacy that you left for us to carry on. So, but that's an important thing, and that's what kind of elevates us amongst other CLCs, not only in the state but in the Midwestern country.
Well, it's you know, the endorsement's critical in endorsing the right person and not being timid when they go astray to call them on it. And what a lot of people don't understand, and we need Pete to continue to remind them, it's not just the union member, it's their spouse, it's our children. And within Pete's database, we track those voters. They may not be union members, but they may be students, they may be whatever, but we know where to go get them.
Well, any parting thoughts, Dan, for us?
I miss the labor movement every morning. I miss it every day. But the only way I could get back in it is travel, and I'm just not up to traveling anymore. Anytime you need my help, you call.
Oh,
Dan, I would interject that I think you're involved with the labor movement every day in some way, shape, or form, just through your legacy and through what you taught those of us who are coming up behind you. And hopefully we are utilizing our platform to pass it on to the younger generation that is coming up behind us. So you are involved, whether you feel it or not, I don't know, but your legacy will always be that way in Cincinnati.
And that is key, passing it on and never be afraid of change. Never be afraid of change.
oh, thank you, Dan. Great words. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Very
Anytime.
inspiring.
Thank you very much. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, Dan.
Great seeing you, Dan. Stay safe.